She stormed into my house the day after I buried my grandfather, pointed at our family cemetery, and told me I had 60 days to dig up my ancestors or face HOA fines. That's not an exaggeration. She literally wanted me to relocate graves to comply with community aesthetics. And I was still wearing the same black suit from the funeral when she said it. I'm Hayden Grant, and I had just inherited my grandfather Harold's ranch, 150 acres of pine trees, pastures, and cattle that had been in my family since 1875. It was supposed to be my anchor, the place I could grieve and start piecing my life back together. Instead, it became a battlefield the second Olivia Sharp, president of the Meadowbrook Estates HOA, decided my property was her personal kingdom. She didn't knock. She didn't ask. She just marched in, clipboard in hand, with that smug tilt of the chin only people drunk on fake authority can pull off. She called out violations like she was writing me a speeding ticket in my own living room. First, the porch swing needed to go because outdoor furniture visible from the road devalues the community. Then, the 100-year-old oak tree by the front gate had to be cut down to improve sight lines. And finally, the punchline, our family cemetery, where 5 generations of Grants are buried, had to be removed entirely. I remember laughing, not because it was funny, but because I honestly couldn't believe anyone was that detached from reality. I showed her the ranch deed survey maps, heritage protections all signed and sealed long before her subdivision even existed. She skimmed them for about 10 seconds, then tossed her hair like I'd handed her junk mail. "Governor or not," she said, "because yes, I also happen to be the governor of this state. You're subject to HOA compliance like everyone else." And in that moment, something inside me shifted. I wasn't just dealing with a nosy neighbor. This was someone who thought trespassing into a governor's home, demanding cemetery relocations, and rewriting property law on the fly was just another Tuesday. I should have had her arrested on the spot, but Harold always said sometimes you let people dig their own holes. Olivia was already holding the shovel. The next morning, the cameras started pinging alerts. Movement by the west fence line where no one should be except cattle. Through Harold's old binoculars, I watched 2 men in work coveralls snipping wire, pulling posts, moving like they knew exactly which sections to dismantle. They weren't vandals. They were contractors following detailed instructions. And right on cue, my phone buzzed. A text from Olivia Property Correction crew working today. "Do not interfere." She had just put criminal conspiracy in writing. That should have been my victory lap, but here's the part I don't like admitting. Watching them cut through the fences, knowing they were targeting the boundary near our family cemetery, I felt powerless. Like maybe she was right. Maybe holding on to this ranch was impossible. Maybe it would be easier to sell, walk away, let someone else fight. I sat in Harold's chair with my head in my hands and thought, what if I'm the fool here? What if I can't stop her? But grief does strange things. It breaks you, and then, if you're lucky, it sharpens you. I remembered Harold's safe, the one he never opened around me. The will had left me the combination. Inside were legal documents he'd collected for decades, heritage designations, state preservation letters, federal protections. My grandfather had prepared for this exact fight long before I knew it existed. That realization snapped me back. This wasn't just my burden, it was my legacy. And then came Ella Dawson. She lived 3 houses down from Olivia, a middle school teacher with more backbone than most politicians I've met. She told me Olivia had fined her $200 a day for having a vegetable garden. Tomatoes, peppers, herbs, apparently not aesthetically compliant. Ella had started collecting stories, and she had a stack. Families fined for flower boxes, flags, even kids' bicycles left in driveways. She invited me to a meeting at her place, and when I walked in, 30 neighbors were crammed into her living room with folders, receipts, photos. Every single one of them had been bullied by Olivia. That was the twist. Olivia thought she was picking on one grieving landowner. What she didn't realize was she'd been sowing enemies across the whole subdivision. And now they were all standing shoulder to shoulder with me. The breaking point came at Harold's memorial service. We were gathered by the family cemetery, about 20 neighbors and friends, when Olivia rolled up in a rental truck. She stepped out in a fake inspector's uniform, dragging 3 men with survey equipment. She announced loud enough for the whole county to hear that she was conducting a mandatory compliance inspection. Then she started planting stakes in my pasture, claiming it was now HOA-maintained property. I walked down to meet her heart-pounding fists clenched. She ignored me, marched straight to Harold's memorial bench, kicked over the lilies I'd placed, and jammed a flagpole into the ground 2 feet from his name. "This is HOA property now," she declared. Something snapped. I put myself between her and the bench. "Step away. Right now." She tried to push past me. Screaming about compliance authority, she grabbed at the bench like she meant to haul it off. I caught her wrist. The phones came out. 20 witnesses recorded as Olivia Sharp, the almighty HOA president, assaulted a sitting governor at his grandfather's memorial. Sirens hit the air within minutes. 3 patrol cars, the county sheriff, and a detective who specialized in HOA fraud. Olivia was still shrieking about her jurisdiction as the cuffs clicked around her wrists. Her crew stood frozen, realizing they'd just become accomplices to felony trespassing, property destruction, and attempted desecration of a cemetery. That was the end for her. Not the moment she trespassed into my house, not the fence-cutting sabotage, not even the fraudulent fines. It was there, screaming about compliance while being shoved into the back of a cruiser, that her empire collapsed. Because by the following week, the evidence came out. Her texts, her fake fines, her theft of HOA funds. Neighbors lined up to testify. Her own consultant flipped on her, handing over recordings of strategy meetings where they'd plotted to drive me off the ranch, poison my water supply if necessary, and sell the land for resort development. She'd built her power on fear and lies, and once people saw the truth, it crumbled overnight. I didn't stay for the celebrations, the new elections, or the community resolutions. My story ended when she was dragged off Harold's land in handcuffs. That's where I stopped watching, because that's where she lost. And the lesson: some people mistake a clipboard for power, but real power comes from truth and from never letting a Karen rewrite your family's story.